like a panther. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Hello there my dear friends, and welcome back to another Star Wars video. So the Book of Boba Fett situation just got so much worse. How many times over the last few years have we covered news stories about Temuera Morrison demanding or requesting to come back? And nearly every Star Wars celebration since, well, pretty much the show ended, he's been saying he wants a season 2, he wants Boba to return in Mando at some point, but today we have a pretty insane update on the situation, because it turns out Lucasfilm called him up. They're not happy with him requesting for Boba Fett to come back, and they told him he shelved. I wish this wasn't true. I wish this was hyperbole and clickbait, but it is real, and this is thanks to Inverse.com. Star Wars Legends says his beloved anti-hero is, quote, on the shelf. The amazing thing about Tem is that he's classy, he keeps things respectful, there's no beef, no drama, and he's still very grateful for the experience. But he does reveal quite a few interesting things, so let's dive in. Every rose has its thorn, and for fans of Star Wars' new small screen universe, that thorn is the Book of Boba Fett.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
I don't know if I'd agree with that. It's a very overhated show. A lot of it was wasted potential and there were some really strange decisions, but I do think it has its merits. Anyway, they go on to say this. The series began with so much potential, positioned as the leaner, meaner, darker counterpart to the Mandalorian's adventures of the week. And I think that's also Lucasfilm's doing. The way they marketed it, the way Jon Favreau and Robert Rodriguez compared it to The Godfather, there was a certain expectation. We expected grit, more badass Boba Fett, just as we saw him in The Mandalorian's second season, which was the show just before Book of Boba Fett, and it also didn't help they released War of the Bounty Hunters around the same time. So we thought those comics were going to tie into this show, but it turns out they were entirely separate. So then Inverse says, but Boba Fett was neither the underworld crime drama nor the intimate character study that anyone hoped it'd be. If anything, it was just a springboard for another adventure with Din Djarin and his companion Grogu. And of course it is true that episodes 5 and 6 were just a continuation from Mando's second season, but in terms of Boba, he was kind of deprioritized, and if you were looking for a purely Boba Fett-centric show, I can see why fans were disappointed with that. And as they say here, fans have every right to be disappointed, as did actor Temuera Morrison, who's been hoping for another chance to give Boba the true spotlight ever since. And it turns out, Lucasfilm has been very weird about the situation. Inverse say that the actor reportedly caught a bit of flack from Lucasfilm after telling fans to, quote, send a fax or a letter or an email, lobbying for more Boba Fett in 2025. And Tem now says, I was only joking. I'm at a convention and I say stupid things. Then I've got Lucasfilm ringing me and saying, look, you've been put on the shelf, Boba Fett. We might open the jar up later, but so far later hasn't come. Now, I personally find this really disgusting. I'm just going to say it, no sugarcoating. Here you have an actor passionate about a character he's been playing in Star Wars for over 20 years. You bring him back as Boba Fett, one of the most iconic characters and bounty hunters in all of Star Wars. You put him in Mando, you give him his own series, it gets very good viewership, and you never follow up. You just leave him hanging. Sure, there are some complaints, but tons of fans still love the character, and they love Tem. It's a bit like the Obi-Wan show. It had its problems, but Ewan was not one of them, and most people would love to see these characters come back at some stage, and in a way that does those characters, in this case Boba Fett, justice. But the fact it says he caught flack from Lucasfilm for just saying he wants to come back, and asking fans to demand for it, that's really stupid. Isn't that really counterintuitive? It's almost like Lucasfilm doesn't like its fans. It makes no sense. Tem is someone who's active, he's still out there wanting to play the character, he's passionate, he's willing, he loves this franchise, loves the fans, and Lucasfilm's just like, we'll see, you're on the shelf. I don't know, I freaking hate that. I hate that approach, I hate that mentality. With so many decisions in the last decade, it's like, are they trying to piss off fans? Like, not just inadvertently, but directly. Even fans who don't like Book of Boba Fett want a better version of the character. They want the version that kicked those stormtroopers' asses with a gaffy stick. They want the version that shot Bib Fortuna in cold blood. And here's an actor saying, I want the same things too. I hope they bring me back in Mando. I hope there's another season of Boba Fett, and according to all the rumours, like I say, there are no plans for Boba in Mando and Grogu, and no plans for Boba Fett in Ahsoka Season 2. And yes, we can talk about Captain Rex or the fact he played some clones in the Keller and Beck flashback, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about Boba Fett, the new daimyo of Tatooine, back in the flesh, on our screens, and getting more story. And I was just thinking about why this might be the case. Like, why is Lucasfilm acting so irrationally about this? Especially when you consider that Tem had a good relationship with John and Dave, and at one point it sounded like they had bigger plans for Boba. I'm trying to figure out what changed. And I'm sat here thinking one of the biggest reasons is that Tem was too honest about how he felt about Book of Boba Fett. He was very vocal about not wanting to take off his helmet as much as he did. He alluded to the fact he preferred the version in Mando, and instead of just being like, okay, maybe we disagree, maybe, that's just his perspective, he still cares about the character, he's still great as Boba Fett, but we'll still keep him on. Lucasfilm was like, listen, we're done with you for now, but at some point, maybe you'll return. And Season 3 literally went back to Tatooine. So often we talk about how strange and different the third season really was. If they wanted more Boba, they would have found space for him. He could have helped our heroes reclaim Mandalore. He's a literal Mandalorian. They really paved the way for his Mando legacy through Jango Fett with the chain code in Season 2, and they did nothing with that. He could have helped the fight against Gideon's troops. I really don't know what's going on, but that is so bizarre to me. Lucasfilm being annoyed at an actor for being passionate about their character? I'm sorry, I just don't even know what to say at this point. But anyway, Temuera Morrison goes on to say he expected a Boba Fett Season 2, 3, and 4. The way conversations behind the scenes sounded, he really thought he was back in a big way. He says, quote, "When you get to do a show like Boba Fett, and you're working with Ming-Na Wen, I started to think, man, this is it. I'm away. Season 2, 3, 4. But at the end of it, we had a great time. I was just honoured to be brought back. And Mr. Morrison, Tem, one of the most awesome actors in Star Wars, we love you, you're amazing, you're so classy with your responses, and I just hope you're brought back from the shelf sooner." In terms of his other characters, he says he can't complain because he's the face and the voice of all the other clones, saying, quote, "I'm Jango, I'm Boba, I'm Commander Cody, I'm Rex, I'm all the clones." The list goes on and on, so I really can't complain. But the New Zealand actor has hope, and he finishes with this: "I'm shelved, that's all. Like a jar of peaches. When it does get reopened, I'm gonna come out sweeter, darling." And that's a wonderful attitude to have. And in Maori they say kia kaha, stay strong, keep living with strength, or kia ora tonu, good health, vitality. So I wish him all the best. I hope we see Rex in Ahsoka. I'm sure he might have some other Star Wars things lined up. But as for Boba Fett, missed opportunity, that's all I have to say. I'd love to be wrong about Mando and Grogu. I hope, Jon Favreau brought him in for the reshoots or some kind of last minute thing, something that teases more Boba. One of the most iconic characters, seriously, just his aesthetic, his presence. Please, Lucasfilm, reconsider. But that's all for this update, guys. Share your thoughts in the comments down below.